this lifestyle gave me the strength and clarity and self-awareness to allow me to get back in touch with myself and find myself again. Welcome to the channel where we talk all things plant-based, holistic health and wellness. My name is Lauren. I have 7 years of living plant-based under my belt and a bachelor's degree in nutrition. If you are into whole food plant-based recipes and holistic living, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss an upload. Today's video I am so excited about. If you are vegan or if you're thinking about going vegan or you're interested in what the vegan lifestyle is all about, then I think you're gonna love today's video. I've wanted to make this video for months, but I think the sheer thought of making it kind of overwhelmed me because I didn't know how I was gonna package it all into one video. So I am doing my best today. Today I am talking about my vegan story, how I went vegan, when I went vegan, why I went vegan, and all the changes that occurred during the process and then after going vegan. First up, I just wanna say there is a difference between plant-based and vegan. Today's video is going to focus on my story with veganism. When I talk about whole food plant-based recipes, I do that for a reason, because the food that I eat, the food I make, the food I want to share with you is all about whole foods, fruits, vegetables. So that's why I really call these recipes whole food plant-based recipes instead of vegan recipes. When we talk about veganism, it really is about not harming another living being. I'm going to share my journey to living a really whole food plant-based lifestyle in another video, but this video I wanted to make about my journey to veganism because I started out really plant-based and I was focused on that, but I wasn't looking at all the other areas of my life where I was using animal products. The switch to going vegan was one of the most massive shifts that I've ever felt in my life because it just touches so much. I will touch on the food, but it's not just food for me. It's really the way that I look at the world. It is one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. If you knew me when I was 20, we might have like partied together or something. I would say probably late high school up until the middle of my 20s, I was a pretty lost individual, but I would never really know that then. If you were to ask me that then, I thought I was just really having fun and living life, but I was actually spending a ton of my time just really focused on partying. I think this whole party thing started in high school, so I won't go like too in depth right now in this video because I don't want this to be half an hour long, but my parents fought a lot when I was, I think, 8th grade, 9th grade, and that really started this rebellious phase in my life. It took like years of therapy in my 20s to like look back and figure out how these things are all intertwined, but I really just kind of started like acting out in high school. I was seeking love and attention, and I think the way that I looked for that was trying to get my peers in school, friends. I wanted to be popular and I wanted to be liked, so that then translated to me going out all the time, going out on weekends, going out on parties. And I mean, I guess it's a normal thing to do in high school, but it's really kind of what my life started to evolve around. Now, my first year of school, I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York for my first year for fashion merchandising. And I was so excited that I got the opportunity to do that because it did feel like I always really loved fashion and I was always like creative, and it was my dream to go to a school like that for fashion. So that was a huge opportunity and I was so excited to do that. So when I went to school, I kind of just put my heads down, and I was in New York City as, you know, a kid, almost like a teenager, and I put my head down when I went to school and just focused on the work and loved it and completely like immersed myself into it. But a couple months into school, I realized that I didn't actually want to do fashion merchandising. It wasn't the image that I had in my head of what working in fashion would be. So halfway through the year, I started realizing I'm gonna have to make a change. I finished my first year at FIT and then went my second year to Penn State near where my parents live. So I didn't go back to New York. And this is when I found nutrition. It's when I started getting interested in cooking. And I was home at my parents for a year at like a branch campus of Penn State, going to school, doing some gen ed classes until I went to University Park to study nutrition. Now, when I went to college, I did study nutrition and I did well in school. I studied and I went to classes and I did all that. But I also was very into going out on the weekends. And I was at Penn State, which is a big party school, but I was super interested in that. And that became a way for me to kind of, I guess, feel some sort of fulfillment then, because I think I was lacking in other ways. Didn't really have a strong connection with myself. I'm talking about all this because when I look back at those times, I realized that I was kind of living like in the dark and I wasn't really connected to myself, to my soul. And why that's important is because I think veganism is one of the things that allowed me to connect internally to myself and be able to actually have more awareness around my actions and what I'm doing. These things are so connected, and if I could actually make a connection when I was in college of what I was consuming and what I was doing, maybe I wouldn't have made the choices that I made back then. But this funny thing happened when I went to Penn State for nutrition. Now, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the way our body works and all of the processes within our body. It's actually a super intense major. But I also learned a lot about calorie counting. So much of my life started to revolve around calorie counting. I couldn't eat something without knowing exactly how many calories were in it. And this is for a lot of reasons. We had assignments in school that we had to count every single calorie we had for a week so we could put things together, which makes sense because if you are going to be a dietitian, you need to know how to do that for your patients. But because of that, and then I also worked at the dietetics center at Penn State, and I would be calling people who are part of clinical studies, interviewing them for what they had to eat that day and writing down every single thing, calculating the calories. It's just my mind was just so consumed with calories. And this became a way that I used to control my own food intake. Because I knew so much from school, that partnered with wanting to be loved and accepted, partner with going to New York City and seeing that models and thin, beautiful people were adored, and my like craving and wanting to be loved. All those things together led to a lot of food issues that I started to develop, which really started to kick up at Penn State and then last until about halfway through my 20s. The focus of calorie counting became super unhealthy for me. And just a trigger warning, I'm going to talk about disordered eating, and I never was fully diagnosed with an eating disorder, so I never went to see anybody. You know, it led me to completely limiting myself with food on days I knew I was going out. If I knew I was going to party, I would be taking in a lot of alcohol calories. So therefore, like, I couldn't eat that day, which is so unhealthy for the body. And that led to not eating for a couple days in a row, Thursday, Friday, and then like Sunday I would be binging on food, which then led to me discovering purging. So I wasn't doing these things all the time, but a lot of it was around partying. This is hard to talk about because from the surface, everything looked fine. I mean, not those behaviors, but I was super secretive about these things. I didn't really share with anybody, and just thinking about that, thinking about how kind of secretive I was about it, I was in such like a dark and lonely place, because I think deep down the root of it for me was that like I really wanted to be loved, because like I couldn't find that love for myself. I had such kind of like a toxic relationship with myself. I just didn't feel good enough, and I thought if I looked a certain way, if I was a certain weight, if I acted a certain way, others would love and accept me, and I was looking for that fulfillment rather than just giving it to myself or being able to love myself, to make healthy choices for myself. All of those things came later in my life when I found Whole Foods and I started changing my diet. I started to find love for myself again, and I wanted to treat myself well. So much of the choices we make are, I think, really representative of our own self-love. If we love ourselves, we're never going to treat ourselves like shit or do things to ourselves to harm ourselves in service of something else. back then I would never think about what I was consuming. It was all about calories. It was all about controlling how much I weighed. I would never think about the quality or integrity of a food or the nutrients in a food. I was pretty miserable in school, in college, in my early 20s because of the things that I was doing. And I guess maybe that's another reason why I would live for the party then, because as soon as I would like have alcohol or something, I was no longer in this like prison in my mind of food controlling or something, and I could have fun and not have a care in the world. And it was just this cycle that lasted for a really long time. So once I graduated Penn State, I would say my relationship with food was pretty much the same that it was in college, where it was about limiting, it was about deprivation, it was about control. So I was solely focused on the next party, on going out, on what I would wear, and on not eating that much so I wouldn't gain weight. But that stopped in 2010, because in 2010 I hit kind of my lowest point. I found myself in a toxic relationship that was for 4.5 years. Our relationship started in college with my ex-boyfriend, and it revolved around partying. And in 2010, like, it finally broke, and I found myself single then, and I was still partying. And I think for so long I blamed that on the relationship or something, until I found myself by myself partying with friends at we went to the beach for like a whole week straight. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror at one point during the week and like not even recognizing myself, and just kind of like, what the hell happened to like the happy girl? And at that point I knew that something had to change, that I had to change, or else I was never going to see any of the dreams that I had in my head before I got lost. I was never going to see a bright future. It was just going to keep going down and down and down if I didn't change my behavior. When I found myself in that low place, I had really self-destructive habits, the disordered eating disorder, the partying. None of these things were good for me. Drinking, drugs, partying, food restricting, and then purging, and it was so toxic, the place I was in. I got into a new relationship that year, and that proved to be a really beautiful time then, that I started to actually get healthier and find some self-worth. I started to cook again, which like I hadn't done since I was at my parents' house in school. I started to find joy in just beautiful, healthy things in life. I wanted to share this and say these things because if you find yourself in a tough place right now, if you feel stuck or lost or just somewhere that you never wanted to be or envisioned for yourself, it is so possible to get back to a place where you want to be, or to build a new place, to build a new future, to build a new life. It's so possible to do that. This is all part of my story because finding veganism and whole food plant-based lifestyle is what allowed me to heal so many issues that I had and find a beautiful way of living and find like light out of that dark tunnel that I was in. It was around 2012 or 2013 when I first started juicing, and I got a juicer and started to love doing that. And I also saw my first food documentary called Food Inc., and that changed everything for me. I will never forget the image of seeing a chicken who couldn't stand up on his legs because he was given so many hormones, so the breast would get bigger that the chicken would just fall. I mean, that image I will never forget, and it changed the way I was seeing things. Up until that point, I never ate a ton of red meat, but I was eating dairy and fish and chicken. I thought chicken was a healthy thing, and I saw Food Inc. and my mind was kind of blown. I just realized that I did not want to contribute to those industries. I could never reverse seeing the inside of factory farms, and that really is what kicked off me not wanting to eat those foods anymore. I didn't want to eat chicken anymore. I didn't want to have dairy and have hormones in it. I started reading books. I'm going to compile a big list below of documentaries and books. If you are interested in starting this journey, continuing this journey, please check out those resources below. All of those had major impact in my life and were so helpful on my journey to a whole food plant-based vegan lifestyle. I started by phasing out different things. So I didn't do everything at once. So I decided, you know, I'm gonna look at this, stop eating this, and see how I feel. So the first was chicken. I decided I'm not gonna eat this anymore. I don't wanna be purchasing this. I don't wanna be contributing to the industry. Let me see how I feel. So I cut it out. And I started really by getting replacements, like vegan replacements for the chicken. So I used to have chicken salad a lot. So I got, I don't know, like Morningstar Farms or some kind of, you know, meat alternative to put on my salad. And that was actually really helpful to have these alternatives, to have a cheese alternative. You know, dairy was the next thing I did. I needed an alternative. I wanted an alternative to make the switch because I love cheese. I always put cheese on salad. So I started looking for vegan alternatives to those things that I was eating. And I think if you're in this point of transition, those alternatives are really helpful because you don't know where to start at the beginning. You know, you're eating this one way for so long, like your whole life. It can be kind of overwhelming at first to be like, oh, well, what now? Start looking by just, what can I substitute the chicken with on the salad? Or I drink milk every day. What can I substitute the milk with? And it's just change by change. Everybody's different. My boyfriend went vegan literally overnight. That's his personality. If he decides he's doing something, it's like that. For me, it was gradual changes. And that's how I really adopted this plant-based lifestyle and vegan lifestyle. Every change that I made, you know, like cutting out chicken and then cutting out dairy and then cutting out fish, I would really pay attention to how I would feel. And a beautiful thing started happening. I started feeling better and better and better. And I just became obsessed with health, with my own health. I started to heal all of these things. I had so much toxic behavior, and these things slowly started to change and heal. And I started to find a connection with myself again. I was no longer focused on depriving myself so I could be a certain weight. Instead, I started to focus on how can I nourish my body? How can I heal my body? How can I feel better? How can I have more energy? How can I feed myself beautiful food so I can go out and like kick ass and make my dreams come true? It was no longer about limiting and depriving and harming myself to stay a certain way. Instead, it was like, well, what can I do to heal, to nourish myself that will really give me energy so I can go live a beautiful life? A beautiful thing started happening in these years as I moved to a whole food plant-based diet. I started to recognize myself again in the mirror. You know, from that point in 2010 where I hit my like complete lowest point to who I was becoming when I started looking in the mirror, I started to see like a sparkle in my eyes again that was just gone for so long. I started to like light up again. I mean, and so many external things too. Like my skin started to clear up and almost seemed like there was more of a glow, and it wasn't like sallow and gray and you know, drinking and partying and not eating like nutrient dense foods will do a freaking number to you. Like you'll see that in your skin. And the more healthy I started to eat, the more nutrients I started to eat, the more I could see myself light up. And as this started happening, as I started recognizing myself again, I began to fall in love with myself again. I began to really develop like a connection to myself and a love for myself, which is so important, because if you don't have that, it's really hard to make healthy choices for yourself, because you're not doing things then in service of your health. You're doing things for other reasons. So when I started to find this connection again and this love, that's when it became so much easier to make these healthy choices. As I started to get to know myself again, I really wanted to honor and take care of myself. And it became about health and not about the physical way I looked. And even better, the thing that I was so consumed with for so many years, my weight has completely gone into this place that is happy. I don't count calories anymore. I don't look at those things anymore. I eat and choose the foods that nourish me. And I'm gonna do a whole video on what I eat, like my nutrition guidelines, the way I live. I'm gonna do a longer video about this soon, just to give you a picture, but it is about abundance. I'll start the morning with a whole papaya or fresh fruit, and then I'm no longer ever counting calories or limiting myself to stay a certain weight. And the most beautiful part is my weight freaking stays the same. Like for the most part, it stays the same, and it's not even a thought or anymore. Like, it's not something that consumes me or I'm concerned about. It's become effortless. Okay, I actually just had to stop my camera because the battery ran out. I'm gonna try to stay on track and finish really the vegan story. So I've kind of talked about how I moved to eating a plant-based diet. The vegan story and the connection to animals, I think, really started, I mean, it first started when I saw those documentaries, but the more aware I became of what was happening in these different industries, the dairy industry, the meat industry, the more I knew that I could never turn back on what I had learned, on what I had saw, nor did I want to. The beautiful thing about eating plant-based is how much I knew that it could heal and nourish me. So then when I became aware of what was actually happening in our food system, the decision to just not eat those things became really easy because I knew this plant-based lifestyle was sitting there offering me healing and nutrients and the best I've ever felt. So it became a lot easier to say, I don't want to eat cheese, I don't want to drink milk, I don't want to eat chicken. The more I started watching videos about what was happening to animals, the more I opened my eyes to what was happening in other industries. So up until 2015, I don't know, when I had a corporate job, I was shopping. In my mind, I think I was looking for fulfillment. At some point along the way, I realized that these things that I was buying, the leather things, that actually came from an animal. An animal was killed for food, was killed for its skin to make the leather. And then I started getting really uncomfortable with the stuff I had. I started feeling almost like foolish when I carry a leather bag I had, because I knew this belief in, I don't want another animal to be harmed because of my presence here, because of the consumption choices I have, like, period. That's what I believe. I can choose something else. I, first of all, know this plant-based diet has been so healing for me, but then also, like, to wear shoes or a bag, like, there's other choices out there, and I found them. There's other choices out there. Like, I don't need to buy leather to live my life. So then I started getting really uncomfortable with the stuff I had. So it pretty much put a full stop to me buying leather when I started to make this connection. I still have some leather things, but over time I'm slowly reselling them on eBay and on Poshmark because I just don't feel comfortable using this stuff anymore. So there's no point in me having it. When I started making that connection, I knew that I wanted to actually become fully vegan. And when you're vegan, it means you're not causing harm to other beings, you're not using animal products, you're not consuming animal foods, you're not using products made from animals. And I knew that is what sits with my soul in the right way. I have a different appreciation for life now than I did prior to going vegan. I believe a life is a life. If I see like a spider crawling, I now try to pick up that spider and take the guy outside, because I know he's not trying to harm me. He's living his life. Somehow he finds his way inside, and hopefully I can help transfer him back outside without harming him. Who am I to decide another animal, a creature, their life is over? That is not in my power, nor do I want it to be. Yeah, I don't know. Going vegan has really changed my outlook on this completely, and has also given me such an appreciation for nature and things that, like, I just never really appreciated before. Now, if I go for a walk in the woods or something, it's like a freaking beautiful experience. I'm looking at the trees, I'm looking at the sun, I'm looking at the leaves, I'm seeing bugs and squirrels, and I'm like freaking Disney. I'm freaking like walking around the woods, like talking to animals. I don't know, this is who I am now. But it's a beautiful thing. I freaking love it. I'm so grateful for the way that I look at life now, because it's made me a much more compassionate person than I ever was. When I was like in the dark before, doing these things to try to fulfill me and not caring about anything else, like, I was sad, and now I feel happy and fulfilled. Life got so much more beautiful when I was able to strip away all the toxicity in my life. And I am forever grateful to plant-based living, and I'm forever grateful to veganism. I'm gonna be doing a video soon on my nutrition guidelines. So what I eat on a day-to-day basis to fuel myself and feel incredible. So that is definitely coming. And I also can do more videos with some of the topics that I touched on in this video. I know this was a lot. I couldn't really figure out a way to kind of condense this further, but I can definitely do more videos breaking down some of the topics. Actual transition, food for food, to self-love, to healing, all of these things I can talk about more in depth. And if you'd like to see anything in particular, if you'd like me to go into more detail about something I talked about today, just leave a comment below because I'm happy to do that. Thank you so much for watching. I also think it's important to say that we have all had different life experiences that have brought us to the moment that we are exactly in right now. And I very much try to keep that in mind when I'm with others who have different beliefs than me. I think it's important, and to come from a place of welcoming, it is my MO. I never want to kind of come off as, you know, any other way really. So if you have any questions at all, if you're not vegan and have questions about going vegan, or if you're transitioning now, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below or to reach out. There is so much abundance here, and if this video could be some sort of inspiration in some way, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful for that. Or if you have any questions that pop up from this video, please leave them below. And I thank you so much for stopping by, for listening to my vegan story. I'm super passionate about this because it has been just such a game changer for me. It's literally changed my whole life. My mission for this channel is to show just the beauty and abundance of living a whole food, plant-based, holistic lifestyle, connecting with yourself and living a life rich in experiences and just beauty. And I thought this was really important though, because being vegan is something that I think really has informed the choices I make and the way I view and think about things. So hopefully this helped to shine some light on that. If you have questions for your own journey or questions that popped up as you're watching this, please feel free to comment below and leave them for me. I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. If you're looking for more whole food, plant-based videos, if you're looking for holistic living videos, please subscribe to the channel so you'll never miss an upload. And I am so thankful for you being here. I'll see you again soon. Bye!